when a man has an orgasm, his testosterone levels will drop, and now he needs to pull away. He needs to detach in order to rebuild testosterone. Women don't have to detach to rebuild testosterone because they don't need testosterone as much as men do. So women, when they climax, they have a huge surge of estrogen. And if they don't have a relationship with him that supports estrogen or a life that supports estrogen, then her brain goes, must have him. So the woman, after having sex with the guy and she doesn't have a relationship with him, there can be this huge kind of like emptiness that she feels afterwards. And for many women, they feel like, I need him to fill that emptiness. Why is he not doing it? I'm not getting enough. Or she just feels empty in her life. For a man, he just like, I'm off to play golf. I'm off to back to work. I had sex. I feel great. I did it, and now I need to go out and do something on my own to rebuild my testosterone. So that's a concept from Men Are from Mars, Women Are from Venus book, which is so important for single women to understand. It's the second stage of dating. The first stage is all this attraction and fun and connection. And always after you have all that attraction and connection, men are going to back off. That's their instinct. That's their biological need. Connection is estrogen. And when estrogen's too high in men, their testosterone goes down. Men need to have twice as much testosterone, 10 times as much testosterone. Some men 30 times as much testosterone to feel good and to feel attracted to her.
Yeah, and I want to make sure the ladies don't miss what you just said there, John, because I think it's so important where you said after all this connection, the men will back off. Because when that happens, I talk to women all of the time that are experiencing that backing off period, which I like to call the gap. That's the term I've created for it. It's confusing to women, and they think, what happened? We had all this connection, and now we backed off. So I just want to make sure that they heard what you said, that that's their natural response to that connection. It doesn't negate the fact that the connection happened when they're backing off. And our job as women is to not run after them during that period, right?
Exactly. Now, here's a subtlety there. There's a lot to that. I call it the rubber band, which is he pulls away, he will spring back if you don't run after him. But he will also only spring back if he has other ways to spring back that are not sexual. Because what happens is if you don't establish a relationship where there's mental connection and emotional connection, and he only has a sexual connection with you, what will occur in his body when he has sex with you is after having sex with you, the body will produce prolactin, which lowers his sexual interest in you. And it doesn't lower his sexual interest in other women. It just lowers his sexual interest in you temporarily. And during that time where he temporarily has no sexual interest, and it doesn't mean the first time you have sex that will happen. It could be like you go away for a weekend and you just have sex 3 times a day for 3 days. You just have to know he's gonna just back off huge because he just went into ecstasy and this is fantastic and I'm alpha male and all this estrogen's going up, his testosterone's going up, but the estrogen stays up because there's all this like I don't necessarily love you because I don't know you. I love how you make me feel. See, this is the thing. You see, you give a man, fulfill his sexual needs. There's nothing more powerful. I love how I feel, and therefore I love you. But I don't know you yet. I really just loving how I feel, but it seems like I love you. It's like when you eat ice cream, it tastes so good. And what do you say? I love ice cream. But it's in a relationship. I love you, but I don't know you. There's no relationship. So when that prolactin gets released, his sexual interest dissipates temporarily. And during that time, there's nothing to pull him back to you. And while there's no interest in you sexually, he can very easily become interested in another woman sexually. And he starts to compare you. This is, women, you know how you compare. That's when he starts comparing because he can look at this woman and get turned on, but he's looking at you and there's nothing to turn him on. And while the prolactin has been released, he bonded with you to a certain extent. Prolactin gets released, diminishes his sexual desire temporarily. He pulls away, and now he can become interested in other women. And so that happens less and less the more he has a relationship in his heart with you and in his mind with you. Then what occurs is, ironically, when he has sex with you, more prolactin gets produced that will prevent him from being immediately sexually turned on to other women. So a little bit of prolactin causes him to be not attracted to you sexually. A lot of prolactin causes him to not have any sexual desire for a little while, giving him a chance to say, okay, now I got to rebuild my testosterone without being sexually attracted to other people. I'm going to rebuild it through my work and my activities and so forth. His testosterone comes back up, and now he can bond with you again. And his interest comes back because there's also this relationship in the heart and in the mind. So that's the biology of it, but the simple truth is what you say. There's a gap. Don't pursue him. He has to feel the gap, miss you, and come back to you. What your instinct is, I call this the second stage of dating. You first have your connection time. Then you go into the gap, as you're saying, and I would call that stage is the uncertainty period. Mm-hmm. He pulls away, kind of goes, okay, I'm not so sure that I want to continue this relationship, because often with connection, we get these little glimpses of, oh my gosh, you're the one, I love you. Okay, maybe you don't say it, but you feel it. That as soon as that starts to happen, that's big time estrogen. And for men, they pull away. That's why you never say to a man, I love you. Okay. You don't say that until he says it to you. It's just some basic stuff. You just go, I love you. But what you do, if it's true and it's authentic, I'm all about authenticity and appropriate expression of it, is if he does something for you. I took my wife to Hamilton, and she says, that's a play. And she says, that's the best play I've ever seen. I love that play. I love the music. I want to listen to the music. Let's get the music for it. That's loving me. See, when you love what a man does for you, he takes it personally. He takes it in as you love him. But if you say, I love you, that's talking to his female side. His estrogen goes up. His testosterone goes down. Now he has to pull away to rebuild the testosterone. So he needs to be anchored in to, I've done enough stuff to cause my testosterone to go up with you. If the only thing that increases my testosterone with her is that she wants to have sex with me, that will create my testosterone with her. But then when the testosterone goes down after sex, there's nothing to pull me back to her. But if I've taken her to Hamilton, now I'm feeling like, okay, I can brag, she can say, oh, we went to see Hamilton, John brought me there. And he's going, yes, I wrote it. I directed it. He didn't take credit for whatever makes you happy. He takes you to a restaurant. He goes, I did that. And he has a conversation with you. He says something witty, and you go, oh, that makes sense. That's a good idea. Oh, you're right. Which, by the way, ladies, these are 3 ways to get a man to bond with you intellectually. In the mind is when he's talking, make sure, here's basic rules. He should talk less than you. That's the first rule. You should always be talking more than a man, A. B is when he does talk, you have to transition back to you talking more. And the transition is a phrase that will boost his testosterone. And that phrase is, that makes sense. And you do it with like sort of a girly tone. That makes sense. And another one is, what a good idea. Another one is, you're right. Oh, that's so helpful. These are like boost his testosterone. Give him and then, that makes sense. Oh, I've been there too. And then you kind of, and my experience is this and this. And don't be afraid to disagree with him. If he says, I think this guy's, well, that makes sense. That's a good idea. I have a different point of view. I think this. And he goes, why would you think that? Well, tell me. Let him talk a little bit. Then say, that makes sense. Well, you're right about that. You're right about that. So you're not trying to win an argument with him, but the objective is to be honest and truthful about yourself. There's a whole difference between my expressing different point of view and my trying to convince you that your point of view is wrong. Never try to convince a man he's wrong, but be authentic about what you believe, what you think, what you're interested in, and don't hide that, but always back off from trying to convince him, to make him wrong, to make him agree with you. It's like, hey, we have different points of view. And then you see, is there still attraction there?